Hi everyone, this is Joy for Honeybee Stamps. For today's project, I've made an interactive Slimline card using some products from the new Spring Bliss release. I'm starting with the Barn Scene Builder. This is not new, this is an older die set. I have die cut that from some really cute plaid paper from the new Playful Pastels, and I've also die cut a white background because the patterned paper is fairly thin and I want my barn to be sturdy. I have die cut 2 doors from some pink paper from the Playful Pastels. This X part that goes onto the door, just die cut that from white cardstock, and you can see how that goes together. I've die cut 2 windows. I've actually die cut 4 pieces because I'm going to glue 2 of the frames together to give it a little bit of dimension. I have die cut the trim twice because I want that to have dimension as well, and that goes on the top part of the barn. I die cut what looks like a window box, but it's for the hay that hooks up to one of those little square windows, but I die cut it from some flower patterned paper from the Playful Pastels because I wanted it to look like there's flowers in this window box. So I'm going to glue those 2 pieces of that barn together. Again, this gives this patterned paper some stability because it is a little bit thinner. I will just use some liquid glue to glue these 2 pieces of trim together, and this will go at the top part of the barn. And again, having 2 pieces or even 3 or 4, depending on what you want, really gives your die cuts some interest when you add dimension that way. For the doors, I'm going to adhere this first door. This one is not going to open, so I'm just adhering that frame part to the pink background. This door is going to open, so we're going to make some hinges. I'm just adding some dots of glue to the inside of the frame, and I'm adding some white tabs of paper for the hinges, and I'm just trimming that off. It does not have to be a certain length. I'm just giving myself enough room to be able to glue that together. I'm just going to glue that frame to the pink background paper. And in my scoring buddy, I'm just going to score some little lines really close to the door itself. I want to be able to fold this back and it not pull on the front part of the frame. I was having a problem with that at the beginning off camera. So when I added that little scoring, I just added some glue, folded it back, and then the door opens up great. So I'm going to adhere these doors down, just lining that up in the center, and then you can see the one doesn't open, but the other one does. And it's so super cute, and what a fun interactive part of this card. Now here's where I'm gluing those 2 window frames together to give dimension, and then I can adhere those to the top part of this barn. One of them is going to have a little bunny, and the other one will just be blank with no bunny inside. Now I've stamped some images with some black ink on white cardstock. These images are from the Easter Buddies stamp set and the Loads of Spring stamp set. So that big bunny is from the Easter Buddies, the little bunnies and the eggs and the flowers are all from the Loads of Spring. They fit in the back of that cute truck, but I'm going to use it for something else. So I'm just coloring my cute little bunny here in E30, 33, 35, 37, and 59. I wanted to have a cute little brown bunny, and I'm going to color the other bunnies the same way. I'm just going to do that off camera. And I'm just adding my lightest color. I'm coming in with that darkest E59. Actually, I started with E37, excuse me. I will come back in a little bit with that E59 to add some even darker shadows. And then I'm going to work my way down. So E37 to 35 to 33 to 30, 30 being the lightest color. And that just blends everything together. So you get a nice good transition from the darkest to the lightest part of the bunny. Now I'm coming in with that E59 and just adding a few more of those darker shadows, and you can really see what a difference that makes. And then again, I'll just blend that out, going back down the line of from darkest to lightest of those E colors. So for the ears, I'm doing R20, and then I'm coming back in with the E30 just to soften up that pink a little bit. So the eggs and the flowers, I'm using all of the same colors. I wanted to keep a simple color scheme, and I was inspired by that plaid paper we used for the barn. So I am using BG 10, 11, and 13, that's the turquoise, RV 63, 66, and 55, that's the colors I'm using now. It's kind of a corally orange, YR 000, 02, and 04. The yellow is Y06, 15, and 19. And then I have C1 and 2. That will be a little bit of shading at the end of this. T1 is for the little tails on the bunnies. So I'm just laying down my color and then coming in with opposite colors to make these eggs super, super colorful. This scene is really, I think, is so cute. It's kind of the Easter Bunny farm. This is where all the Easter eggs are made, and this is where the Easter bunnies live. And so that was my plan for this card. I think it turned out super, super cute, and I love that it's interactive. And so I'm really thrilled with the way that this card went. When I'm done coloring all of these images, I am going to use the coordinating dies to cut them out. You also can see that there's 3 little bees there, and I just think they're so cute and so tiny. I love them. And that is from the Loads of Spring stamp set as well. I'm going to finish coloring these flowers. I did not bring in another green. I actually used the BG 10 and 11 for the green leaves in the flowers. Now on a piece of white cardstock, I just came in and used a little bit of walnut stain. Off camera, I just inked up the paper, and I am using this cute fence, even though I don't need this whole thing, from the Horizon Slimline borders. I also inked up that background part of this Slimline card. This measures 8.5 by 3.5. I inked that up. The top is Broken China, the bottom is Mowed Lawn. And now I'm using those eggs. I'm just going to mark them because I want them to be inside of this barn. I want that barn door, when you open it to be full of Easter eggs. Like, this is where they keep them. So I was able to just cut that in half, and I'm going to glue that down, and the other one's going to be a little bit behind it, so it looks like you've got this tall mound of Easter eggs. Then you've got that cute little bunny bum, which I think is so darling. He is just digging into those eggs, and I think that is so much fun, and he's super, super cute. So I'm just using some liquid glue to adhere that down. And then I've got the window at the top, and so we've got the head of this little bunny hanging out. I'm going to glue him down and then trim off the excess parts and just glue that down and put that in the window. But I decided that needed to have a little bit of a colored background, so I just used the R20 marker and colored around that bunny, coloring in the other window with that same pink, and then around the eggs in the door, I'm coloring it with that same R20. You could have done this with a piece of colored cardstock, but I didn't think that far ahead, so I needed to come in and fix that problem. I inked up some more white cardstock with the Mowed Lawn. I'm using the grass piece from the Horizon Slimline borders and just die cutting that out, and I'm going to be breaking this down. So you guys are going to see something really sad here. I'm going to glue this barn down and then cut off about 1/3 of it. But it turned out really cute for this scene. I trimmed down that fence to small little pieces that I'm going to use. I'm leaving an opening like a walkway to the door of the barn. I glued some grass to both of those fences, and then I'm coming in with that flower, gluing some of that down to the bottom and trimming it off. So I can use 1 egg die, stamp and die for the inside of the barn, and 1 set of flowers colored and stamped and die cut, and adhered that to both sides of the fence, and it worked out perfect. And I actually had a little bit of a piece left over, which I ended up using. So I'm adding some foam tape behind both of those pieces. Then I'm also going to add another piece of grass behind that. I want this to really have a lot of dimension in the front, almost like they're closer to you than to the barn, where the bunny is and the flowers. So I'm doing that on both sides, again adding foam tape, adding another piece of grass behind it, trimming it off, using a little bit of liquid glue and adhering that down. And now you can see we've got this cute little fence line with flowers and grass. I'm going to finish that off on the right side with some more grass. I'm actually going to be adding 2 more layers of grass. I'm using foam tape behind that. Then I'm going to tuck that little cluster of 3 eggs. I colored these off camera. Those eggs are from the Easter Buddies stamp set. I need to make a little slit around that bunny's arm so I can tuck in an Easter egg that he's holding a little Easter egg. So I'm just using my X-Acto knife and cutting that in and gluing that down. And now it looks like he's holding that little bunny. I'm going to glue in some more flowers on the left side there and a little piece of grass at the bottom. You can see at the right side, I do have some of that little cluster of 3 eggs tucked into the grass there. And now we've got this cute little scene on both sides. I'm going to adhere another cluster of 3 on the right side at the top by the barn and 2 more eggs on the left side. The flowers are going to be adhered at the top between the 2 windows, and I'm just going to glue that little bunny down right in the center of that walkway. I've got the little bees with some foam tape behind them because I want those to have some dimension. One of them is going to be at the top there, landing on those little flowers. We've got one on the bottom and one kind of on the side of the barn. So it just gives movement to this scene. So now for the sentiment, I am using the Hoppy Easter stamp set. This does have coordinating dies. I'm not using that. I am actually masking off the sentiment because I need this to be in three different sentiments actually. So I'm just inking it up with black ink, masking off the parts I don't want to use, and then I'm going to trim this out with a paper trimmer. So I need the Easter bunny to be 2 separate sentiments because that's going to go inside the barn door. And the Here Comes the sentiment is going to be at the top. So that can be 1 full sentiment. And you'll see how we're going to put that together in just a second. So for the sentiment at the top, I am going to have some foam tape behind that, just right at the top of the barn there. So it says, Here Comes the, and then when you open that little door, it's going to say Easter Bunny. And now you can see I need to stack those on top of each other. So I needed to break that down into a shorter sentiment instead of a long sentiment. So now I'm going to come in with my black glaze pen, add some details to the bunny's eyes. I'm going to come in with my white gel pen. Of course, I'm adding highlights to the flowers, to all of the eggs, to inside of the bunny's ears. When you add the highlights to the eggs, it actually makes it look a little bit shiny, which is the look that I'm going for. I'm going to add some dots to the bunny's cheeks. And then once that black glaze pen has dried, I'm going to add a little bit of some white dots on the eyes of the bunny. I am coming in with the C1 and C2 marker, adding some shadows underneath the bunny and a couple of those eggs at the top. So it doesn't look like they're just floating out in space. It actually looks like they're sitting there. Now that this card is all done, look at that super cute Easter bunny scene. This is the Easter bunny farm. This is where you get your Easter eggs from. And I just love how this turned out. Thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you enjoyed this project. Everything that I used for it is listed and linked below. I'll see you soon. Bye.